Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks for coming down. We appreciate it. And thanks for everyone who's attending virtually as well. WaterTalk's a program we've been doing for the last few years. I'm Seth Wallach. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Water Authority. And basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off by giving you a little bit of background about why we started this program really quick. We know water is in the news constantly, so we wanted to make sure everyone was getting the same information about their water and everyone was getting accurate information about their water. We go to a new community every 2 months. So we've been doing these from Melville to Montauk. This is the last area that we have yet to hit. So everything else after this will actually be a repeat. And today you're going to hear from the experts on our staff. Right behind me, I've got Brendan Warner, our Director of Construction Maintenance, who's going to talk to you later about some of the infrastructure projects that we've got going on and how our water infrastructure works. And then I've got Christine Steele to his left. And Christine is part of our laboratory team, so she can talk to water quality and things like that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about WaterTrack as well. WaterTrack is a tool that actually lets you monitor the quality of your water from home. It has treated water data and has raw water quality data before it goes through our treatment. And we're going to tell you a little bit later how to use that software. So a little bit about us right off the bat. The Water Authority is an independent public benefit corporation. We operate under the Public Authorities Law of New York State. And essentially what that means is we operate without tax power and we operate on a non-for-profit basis. We serve about 1.2 million people in Suffolk County. And we're one of the largest suppliers of groundwater in the country. So who we aren't. The Water Authority is actually not a part of Suffolk County government. A lot of people don't know that because of our name. We're our own independent entity. And we don't create, nor do we enforce drinking water standards. That's up to the New York State Department of Health and the DEC. Oh, sorry, the EPA, not the DEC, sorry. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christine, and she's going to tell you a little bit about our laboratory procedures and talk to you about some of the local water quality here in this region.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for coming out tonight. As Seth mentioned, my name is Christine Steele. I am an assistant supervising chemist at the Sinai laboratory. I started working for the company about a little over 10 years ago. Before that, I gained experience for about 5 years or so working at a private environmental testing laboratory. When I came to the Water Authority, I started as a chemist in our organic department where I did analysis looking for semi-volatile compounds in water. And I've since moved on to a position I'm in now as a assistant supervising a team of talented chemists in our inorganic department where I primarily oversee our metals analysis. So I should know that I, like all of you, am a Suffolk County resident. I'm also a customer of the Suffolk County Water Authority. But of all the things I've told you that I am, first and foremost, I'm a mother. I have 2 young children that drink our water. So not only do I love what I do, it's very important to me. I take it very seriously. So enough about me. A little bit about our lab. We're located in Papa, right off the LE or Parkway. Our lab is state of the art. And it's one of the largest drinking water testing facilities in the nation. We have staff of about 50 employees. That includes chemists like myself, microbiologists, technicians, IT staff, and management. Just like to note that it's March and it's Women's History Month, so our staff is made up of more than 50% of our staff is made up of women. I'm very proud of that. So we test samples at a lot of different locations all across Suffolk County. We have over 600 wells And every one of those wells is going to get tested at least twice, depending on the situation of the well. So every single well is going to get tested from the wellhead, and also the treated samples will be tested also. And when I say the wellhead, I'm talking about the raw water that comes straight from the aquifer. And when I say treated, I'm talking about after we've taken that water from the aquifer and we've added a small amount of chlorine for disinfection, and also the lime for corrosion control. Most people don't know that water coming out of the ground is naturally acidic. So we need to neutralize the pH before it enters our distribution system infrastructure and damages it, or damages the pipes in your home. If there are certain well fields that maybe have some contaminants in the raw water, we're going to install filtration systems there. So we're going to take more samples from those well fields. Also, besides the wellhead and the treated sample, we're also going to take samples before the filter and after the filter, so that we can monitor how well the filter is performing. And we also have distribution sample stations located all throughout our county. And those give us a better idea of how the water quality is after it leaves our well fields, before it enters your home or your business. And just to give you an idea of how busy we are at the lab, last year we analyzed over 95,000 samples, which amounted to just over 200,000 tests. We're very proud of our aggressive approach to staying ahead of the regulations. So of those tests, we looked for 414 compounds, and that's 265 more than is required by our regulators. We like to stay ahead. By looking for more, we're making sure we're putting out the water of the highest quality to our customers, and it keeps us ahead of the game for future regulations. We're prepared for future regulations for emerging contaminants. We also tested a higher frequency than is required by the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. Most of our wells are really only required to be tested twice a year, but oftentimes we're testing much more than that. Like I said earlier, wells that have filtration systems are going to get tested more. For example, we have some iron removal systems in place, and we test those monthly. We want to make sure that the system is working properly and removing the iron before it enters the distribution system. And finally, our in-house standards are tougher than most state and federal regulations. New York State has some of the toughest restrictions in the country on our drinking water. So, for example, some contaminants are given an MCL, and if you're not familiar with that term, an MCL is a maximum contaminant level. It's the maximum amount that a substance can be allowed to be in the drinking water under the Safe Drinking Water Act. So if an MCL is reached, we're required to take action by either taking the well out of service or applying treatment to that well. So we don't wait till we see a contaminant reach the MCL to take action. We're always prepared at that time. We are ready to take action on the well if a contaminant is found at less than half of the MCL. So just a little bit of our levels of detection. Our instruments are state-of-the-art and very technologically advanced. We can see some of our compounds in the water down to parts per million, parts per billion, and in some cases, parts per trillion. So it's really small. To give you a little perspective on that, you can think of it as 1 part per million would be the equivalent of 1 second in 12 days. A part per billion would be 1 second in 32 years. And 1 part per trillion would be 1 second in 32,000 years. So we're talking really, really minute amounts, trace amounts of these contaminants in our water. And as our instruments become more advanced and sophisticated, our levels of detection are only getting lower, which is making it virtually impossible to find nothing in the water. We're always going to find something. And that's a good thing, because then we're able to treat the water before it can ever be a health risk to you. This is a photo of one of our field technicians. She's collecting a sample from one of our distribution sample stations I mentioned earlier. These are the ones that are scattered around Suffolk County so that we can see the quality of the water after it leaves the well field and before it enters your home. She's taken a bacteria sample from this particular sample station. We hit all of these. We have over 300 of them throughout the county, and we hit all these weekly for bacteria. And we'll go back twice a year to every single one for our full range of chemical analysis. There's actually one right outside this building. When you leave the parking lot tonight, if you look on the sidewalk just east of 83, you'll see a little green box. It has a cover, just uncovered right now for a sample, but it has a green cover, and you'll see it right by the sidewalk. And this is a picture of the front cover of our consumer confidence report. If you're not familiar with that, it's a document that we're required to publish annually for our consumers to find out about the quality of our water. So you can find it on our website every year. It's published usually around in springtime, usually in May. It's about 50 pages or so it can get a little overwhelming. But what you'll find in it is the data for the treatment water for the year prior. You'll also find information about our aquifer system, how it works, and how we can protect it. You're going to find information about all the different treatment types that we have in place for our system. You'll also get news on completed projects or upcoming projects in the future. So if you go to www.scwa.com, there's a tab for water quality data. If you click on that, you'll come to a few links. You'll see you can usually hold on the website about 5 years past of data of CCRs. So you can choose what you want, and when you click on that, you'll also find another link that will bring you to an interactive map, which is pretty cool. You can type in your address, and it'll zero in right onto your home and give you the quality of the water that's been served your home for the year prior. And then, like I said, it's very long. There's a lot of information there. So if you ever need any help interpreting CCR, you can call us at the lab, and someone will be happy to help you. The number you can call there is on the screen: 631-218-1138. And let's go over some of the filtration systems that we use. This is a picture of one of our iron removal systems. We have about 30 of these throughout our county. Most of them are located on the South Shore. That's where we typically find iron to occur naturally in the water. So iron generally doesn't pose a health risk, but too much in the water can give a rusty appearance, peeling, or some people might have trouble with their laundry with their whites and some rust stains or whatever. So we remove it in places where we have excess of it occurring naturally. Yeah, so that's that. That's one of those. This is a picture of one of our GAC filters. It stands for Granular Activated Carbon. We have about 150 of these throughout our distribution area. You can see the left picture, that's the actual vessel, and the picture on the bottom to the right, that's the carbon media that fills the vessels. It takes about 40,000 pounds of that carbon media inside those, and they work pretty much like if you were to have a Brita pitcher or a Brita filter on your faucet at your home. What they do is we use these to remove any organic compounds, herbicides, pesticides, and volatile organic compounds. Like I said, we've got 150 of those throughout all Suffolk County. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brendan Warner, who's our Director of Construction Maintenance. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brendan Warner, Director of Construction Maintenance. So my department oversees the distribution system. So I'll just give an overview of how our distribution system works, and then highlight some recent projects we've done in the area. All right, just some stats about Suffolk County Water Authority. A lot of people don't know this. We have over 600 wells scattered across 200 plus pump stations spread throughout our service territory. We have 68 storage tanks. The average daily pumpage is about 210 million gallons, with a peak pumpage that's in the summer of 470 million gallons. In addition to that, we have all of our fire hydrants throughout the county. So we have about 37,000 fire hydrants. Our entire distribution system is about 6,000 plus miles of water main. that we maintain. So this map just gives you an idea of where our wells are located across the county. So you can see it's a very distributed architecture. It's not like, say, New York City water, where all the water gets piped in for one main transmission. It's a very interconnected system, which gives us flexibility in operations in terms of demand and everything else. So you can see our wells run all the way from the county line all the way out to both forks. And then our main headquarters is in Oakdale, and we have satellite offices that different operations run out of throughout the county. So this is just to give you an understanding of where the water is actually coming from, and it's a bit of a throwback to maybe your high school or middle school science class of the water cycle. So beneath Long Island, there's 3 main aquifers, and that's where we're drawing our water from. The upper aquifer is the upper glacial, and then the Magathie is the middle aquifer. That's where the bulk of our wells are drawing water from. And then below that is the Lloyd aquifer. We don't have any wells that go that deep. And so this just shows the rain falling on the surface, eventually it infiltrates down to the aquifers over time. The thing to note in this animation is just that what happens on the surface has a greater impact on shallower wells. So the fact that we're drawing from a deeper aquifer, it helps improve the quality of the water that we're able to produce. So this just shows a map of this portion of our distribution system. So all of these different color lines are our water mains that are all connected, and those purple squares or shapes are all of our different pump stations. So we have one well, multiple wells, depending on the station. So as I mentioned, you can see it's a very interconnected system. So if for whatever reason we needed to take one pump station offline, we're able to continue operations because the system is that resilient. And the different colors on this just indicate the size of the water main that's in the street. So the blue is a 12-inch water main, orange is a 10-inch, red is a 6-inch, and green is an 8-inch. And then just a highlight of some recent projects that we've done in the area. In 2021, Harbor Beach Road, we did a 4,500-foot replacement. That project was the result of seeing numerous main breaks in one area, so we targeted it for a replacement. Another one, which I'll show on the following map, we did 1,500 feet of tie-ins on North Country Road. That was a project that the county was doing drainage work. We wanted to leverage that as an opportunity to get in the road while it's being torn up. And it helped us remove some dead ends in the system, improve overall circulation, and really is a win-win. It allows us to do more with the limited capital funds that we have. And then upcoming, we have a 4,500-foot replacement on Longview Drive that's scheduled to start this year again. That was a section of water main with frequent breaks on it. It was an older acquisition water main, so it was undersized for the modern demands. So this map just shows some recent projects. I didn't throw every single project up there. We have smaller ones, installing a blow off, adding hydrants, throughout the year, but these were kind of the big ones in the area. And with that, I'll turn it over to Seth.
All right, we're almost done here, I promise. Thank you for being patient with us. At the end, we're gonna go and answer everyone's questions in the room, and then we'll answer everyone's questions in the Zoom call as well for those attending from home. But really quick, so WaterTalk, what is it? It's an online GIS-based water quality mapping system. It was a project of the Long Island Commission for Aquifer Protection, or LICAP, which is Nassau and Suffolk County working together. LICAP is constructed of reps from both county legislatures, both county health departments, both county executives, every stakeholder you can imagine in terms of the health of the aquifer in both counties is involved in LICAP in some way. And the data in WaterTalk is pulled from the laboratory, so that's treated water data. It's come from wells, it's got raw water data, and it's got data, of course, from the Water Authority and all the other water districts on Long Island. We are the largest in Suffolk County, of course, but there are other smaller water districts throughout Suffolk, and Nassau is rather decentralized. I think there's over 50 water districts in Nassau County alone. So I'm going to search with WaterTalk. Up in the corner there, you'll see, it's a little blurry, but you can actually see that you can search by address. And similar to the consumer confidence report from the Water Authority that Christine referenced earlier, you can search and it'll actually bring you right to your address. You can also search by compound. That's what we're doing as an example. With the second red circle, I did, for example, search for chlorides, anything over 250 milligrams per liter, which is actually the standard, the MCL for chlorides. And we actually had one hit, raw water down, one hit over there and towards Farmingdale. And so if you have any questions about WaterTalk, we'll take those afterwards. It's licaponline.com, and then there's a button that says WaterTalk. So water conservation. Why should I conserve water? We get that a lot. Long Island's aquifer, as Brendan explained, it's a very robust aquifer. We've got a lot of water, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't use it wisely. And one of the biggest reasons for that is cost. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the Water Authority operates on a not-for-profit basis. So when our customers use more water, that costs us more money to pump that water out of the ground. So believe it or not, the people that sell water are telling you to use less water. We promise it makes sense for everybody. It helps us keep our costs down. It helps us keep your water rates down. The biggest thing you can do to help us is eliminate what we call peak usage, and that's usage between 3 a.m. and 7 o'clock in the morning. I think that surprises most people that peak water usage is between 3 and 7 a.m. when everyone's asleep. But the truth is that's when everyone, or most people, set their sprinkler systems to go off. And as we'll cover in the upcoming slides, sprinklers are by far and away the most consumptive use of water. And also additionally, there's the water quality impacts that over pumping can have. In coastal communities, I know they had an issue with this in Nassau County down in Long Beach. If you over pump wells in coastal communities, you can actually get some of the salt water coming in. You get saltwater intrusion, you could foul a well forever. And a well takes a little over $1 million to install. So we'd like to avoid that whenever possible. So this graph shows seasonal water use. You can see water use in the summer, that orange line, summer weekend, even a little bit higher is the red line. And then winter usage is that blue line on the bottom. So you can see the impact of sprinklers alone, the difference between winter and summer usage, because that's really the big difference. Of course, you've got some other usage, you've got pools and things like that. But really, this is from sprinklers. And you'll see that light blue line is a rainy summer day. So in theory, a rainy summer day should look a lot like a winter day in terms of pumpage. But that light blue line is all those gallons pumped so people can water their lawns in the rain. So that's what we like to avoid. So how do you prevent watering your lawn in the rain? The easiest solution to that is invest in a smart controller. So if you look at the bottom right, that's an example of a smart irrigation controller. That's the grow model from Scott's Miracle-Gro. No free ads, we don't endorse a specific brand. Just wanted to give you an example. If you have an irrigation timer, please remember to not set it during 3 to 7 a.m. The biggest help you can give us is an odd even watering schedule. And what that means, so if you have an odd numbered address, maybe you water your lawn on odd days, if you have an even numbered address, water on even days in the calendar, your lawn does not need to be watered every single day, every other day watering, even in the summer. We promise you is perfectly sufficient, it will not turn brown. And like I said, consider using that smart controller. It's called a smart controller because it connects to the Wi-Fi in your home. And so since it's connected to the internet, it's measuring hyperlocal weather patterns. And so wherever the closest weather station is, I think in some cases it might be MacArthur Airport, it's measuring the local weather. So the controller will know if it's going to rain on Tuesday, I don't have to water on Monday. So I'm getting a lot of water on Tuesday. So they're very water efficient just by measuring local weather patterns and humidity and things like that. And almost most importantly, we'll give you $50 off your water bill if you invest in one of these smart controllers. All you've got to do is, we've got an online form on our website, scwa.com. Click WaterWise, there's an online form where all you have to do is fill it out and attach your receipt. It could be a PDF, a JPEG, any file type you've got, we don't care. Just send us that receipt along with the form and you'll get $50 off your water bill. The smart controllers run between 100 and 350, depends what brand you get, depends on model obviously, but we want to give you the financial incentive to use those smart controllers whenever we can. That $50 rebate, by the way, does not just apply to smart controls, it applies to pretty much any water saving device, faucet aerators, low flow shower heads, things like that. If you buy a water saving device, we'll give you up to a $50 rebate. So it can't exceed the purchase price. If you buy a $35 low flow shower head, you'll get $35. But if you buy a $75 dollar low flow shower head, you'll get the full $50. So the average user versus the water waster, the average residential user, not many people realize this, uses just under 130,000 gallons a year. I think that surprises people that that's average. We had one user, he's at Long Island, we won't name names, they used 22 million gallons in a recent year in 2018, which is more than a local hospital, as you'll see there on the bottom. So if you're using more water than a hospital, please stop. I don't think that describes anybody in this room, thankfully, but it is something we run into. And the reason they were using that much water, for one, it was a massive estate, so it was a lot of irrigation. But secondly, they had an open loop geothermal heating and cooling system. So geothermal systems are great because they're green technology, and we love that. But the problem is when they have an open loop, that means they're not recirculating the same water. They're taking, in this case, it was SCWA public water into the system, putting it back into the ground on the other end, and they were using Water Authority water pretty much all day, every day for their heating and cooling system. That was a big problem for us. The Water Authority has a rule banning the use of open loop geothermal systems. We will actually not, if you're a new customer, we will not supply you with water if you have an open loop geothermal system. Closed loop, where it's using the same water, is fine about that. So these are our top 10 water conservation tips. Like I said, the biggest one is smart irrigation controllers, rain sensors, and just watering less often, even. Those are the biggest tips. Using water sense products, anywhere you see that logo right there in the middle, that means it's a water efficient product certified by the EPA, and we'll give you rebates for those. Shortening your showers is helpful. Even shortening your shower by 2 minutes, you'd be surprised at the end of 3 months when you get your water bill how much of a dent that can really make. And then detecting and fixing leaks is a huge one. Even one little drop per minute, it all adds up in the end. So the last of our top 10 tips, just making sure you shut the water off when you're brushing your teeth, simple. Making sure that when you do use your dishwasher, your washing machine, and you're running the full load to get the most out of it, you're not running too often. Using mulch to keep plants moist instead of overwatering plants. Not instead of hosing off the driveway, for example, maybe use a broom or another sweep to clean, maybe use another tool that'll work. And then going to the car wash instead of washing your car at home. The advantage of the car wash is that a lot of times they'll recycle that water, so they're actually waste less water than running hose all the time at home. And I think I've kind of throughout this presentation I've covered the extent of our WaterWise programs. I've talked a lot about that. Account credits, scwa.com/WaterWise is how you take advantage of them. But we also have our WaterWise checkups program that has recently returned. It's our in-home program where one of our water experts will actually come to the home. We'll ask you a bunch of questions. We've got some formulas to estimate your water usage, each point, so kitchen, bathroom, outdoor, etc. And then we can kind of give you, once we can estimate how much you're using each point, we can give you a customized plan to cut back. That program was suspended due to COVID. Obviously, nobody water was coming to homes, but that is will recently be started up this summer once again. So if you're interested in a water-wise checkup for your home, you can call the dedicated phone line for that, 631-292-6101. You can hit us up at waterwisecheckup@scwa.com. Facebook DMs, Twitter DMs. And the last thing I just want to talk to you tonight is about our Water Our Lives campaign. So this was another initiative of the Long Island Commission for Aquifer Protection. And this is our, the Long Island's overarching water conservation brand. We encourage you to go to ourwaterourlives.com. There's a pledge to conserve water. There's more great tips and easy ways you can pledge to conserve. As you can see, all levels of government are on board with Our Water Our Lives. We've got Suffolk County there, Nassau County, the Irrigation Association of New York, the environmental community. So we encourage, like I said, everyone to go to ourwaterourlives.com. And that's it. So at this point in the presentation, we're going to open up to questions. So how we'll do it, like I said, we're going to take the people live in the room here first. We know you've got questions at home on Zoom as well. What we'll do is there's a raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom call. If you hit that button, if you raise your hand, we'll be able to call on you eventually. We'll give you permission to speak. You can also type your question into the question and answer of the chat feature in Zoom. That's actually even more helpful. But first things first, anybody questions?
4 years ago, something went wrong, and my voice is terrible. It's just gotten better a little bit, but I can't drink. In the morning, I actually want to throw up and turn off this. The smell is like chlorine, metallic. The other day, I couldn't even give it to the cats. I had to open a gallon of water in the store and give it to them. 4 years ago, all my cats got very ill. Very, very ill. I said something's wrong. They all had dysentery. Couldn't stop it. And from that day on, it didn't end. When I had Suffolk water in my house, they said nothing's wrong. I said, well, do you test for parasites or something? I said, no, we do not test for parasites. And at that time, we had the COVID thing, and I could not get a private test in the house. My water's not drinkable. Today it doesn't smell bad. When I turn on that water is absolutely horrible. It wasn't like this years ago. 4 years ago it started. I don't know. 5 years ago I had a broken pipe in the street and we fixed it. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's not drinkable water. And I have an underground. I have a filter underneath my sink. Still, I have a Brita filter and still smell.
With the filter and post filter. Okay, so the timeline aspect of that, I can't explain. Nothing changed about the way we supply water in the last 4 years. But essentially, so depending on where you live, if your proximity to a pump station, you may experience more of a chlorine taste or more of a chlorine smell than somebody who lives a little farther away from the pump station. It's had that much less time to sort of dissipate properly. I'm surprised to hear about the filter portion of the comment, because that's usually my advice to people is if you don't like the chlorine taste of your water, tastes too chlorine, that's normally my advice. Use a sink filter, use a Brita pitcher. That'll take the chlorine out. It should be drinkable again.
It's not even, I don't even know. It's the smell.
The smell. Yeah. What's the same idea that's coming from the?
It definitely has to be the chlorine, but it's also like chlorine, Clorox, metallic smell. Horrible when you turn on the faucet. I turn it on and I look at it. It's horrible. But now, just the other day, like 2 days ago was fine. This week, I poured it into a pitcher feed. They give it to the cats, and I smell this wool. I'm not giving that. And the gallon of water. I would not give it to the cats.
So you said we've already come and tested the water.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. 4 years ago, they left the house and they just said nothing's wrong. But then I had an old woman in Situate, and her water was so dirty looking, dirty, and Suffolk water came in and said, "Oh no, it's nothing. It's not cloudy." Oh, I'm sorry. And they said your water is fine. They told her it wasn't cloudy. She was an old woman, her 80s. I was there. It was so cloudy. So I wouldn't drink it.
Right.
So I don't have trust. If they come to my house and they said, "Well, we don't test for parasites," and then they tell this old lady that nothing's wrong, and I'm watching the water come out of the faucet filthy.
Yeah.
And so where's my trust? I don't know what to trust. And they said they don't test for parasites, then, and so I have to get I know I'm gonna have to get a reverse osmosis in my house. That's a good. But I'm gonna have to test for parasites somewhere. Something that was in my water. Suffolk water wouldn't test for it.
So I'll let Christine handle the parasite specific part of the question. But I know we're testing for bacteria, we're testing for total coliform. It's not that the water isn't, I mean, dysentery, I mean, cats or humans regardless, dysentery is not something that coming from your water. I mean,
It's
it's,
Giardia. Giardia is from a parasite.
well, that's what, you wouldn't be able to have too much chlorine and that at the same time. That's what the chlorine's for, to kill any possible bacteria that's in your
You would
water.
think so. You would think so. But this was like, you could not break down the common denominator on this. I ran a rescue. I had cats upstairs and downstairs. No one ever interacted with dishes or food or bowls or anything. The only common thing they had was the water. And everybody had just a tip.
Okay, I'll say, can I give you my card after this meeting? And then we'll have somebody, I know we did this 5 years ago, but we'll come down and we'll take another sample from your sink. We'll actually run it for all the procedures and we'll send you the results and we'll go over them with you over the phone. Would that be acceptable?
That would be because nobody went over it with me when they got it that time.
Okay, they should be going over the results with you, and the findings, and things like that. We can do that for you. I apologize that didn't happen in the past.
Right.
Christine, I don't know if you want to add anything about our bacteriological testing?
No, I mean, yeah, when you call customer service and you lodge a complaint, we are gonna send someone to your home. They're gonna take 2 samples. They're gonna take, just a plain sample, and also gonna take a bacteria sample. They're not gonna test for,
That's what they did. They came to the house and they took it.
right, we're gonna test for total coliform, E. coli, things like that. We're not gonna test for parasites, but we will test to have metallic taste. We'll test, I'll test it. I will see the metals analysis. I'll personally see it, that I look at your results and.
Well, see, that would be good because then we'll have a sheet to go by, so I can get an independent contractor in there to test the water for what you're not testing.
Right, I can tell you about the tidiness of the water, if there's any metals in the water, the pH of the water, the chlorine residual that's left in the water, so I think it's a good start if we have someone come to your home, take another sample for you.
But I'd love to, today the water was fine, otherwise I would have worked with a sample that I'd love to see who could drink this water because I would touch it.
Thank you for coming and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
I can't drink the water either. I developed pretty severe intestinal pain. And, as soon as I stopped drinking the water out of the tap, that condition cleared up. So I've been on bottled water and now a reverse osmosis and carbon filtering both before I'll drink. That's what I have to do. I'm more sensitive than others, but that's me. And if it's a toxin, then nobody should be drinking it. But further question, I noticed that we are tapping here in the North Shore from the upper aquifer. Are there any plans to go down to the lower aquifer the way it is on the South Shore?
So,
Which may clear up a bunch of problems.
yep, so over here in this region, we're pulling from the Magothy aquifer, that large middle layer, is where you're getting your water. The layer below that, the Lloyd aquifer, there's actually a state moratorium on drilling into the Lloyd aquifer. We're actually prevented by law from digging into that. And that is because the Lloyd aquifer, they want to save it for future needs should something ever happen to the Magothy aquifer, is the thinking behind the state moratorium. With regard to, again, something being in the water making people sick, we would know. I mean, Christine talked about how much testing we really do. We would know if there was a contaminant in your water. For sure, we'd be able to tell you. Do you have any issues? Once you said you have got the carbon filter as well. Once you drink the water from your sink that's been through the carbon filter, do you have any issues?
No issue.
No issues and post carbon filter. Okay.
Correct.
Not that you should have to have a carbon filter. We're not getting away from that, but that's good to know. Okay.
Is it true? Because I saw it on the website where the South Shore water is from a lower aquifer than the North Shore.
It depends what you mean by shore. There are areas of the North and South Forks out east where the North Fork, for example, the only aquifer we have, the only aquifer that exists there because of the geology would be the upper glacial, would be that top layer. But the vast majority of our wells are the Magothy. And then and South Shore is the same. Those are also Magothy wells, unless we're talking about the forks, and then we have to use the upper glacial. I think there's one area we actually have to go into the void, and we have to go in the bottom one, is all we have, and we have permission in that specific instance from the state to do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, thank you guys for being here tonight. We really appreciate it.
Sure.
I have two questions surrounding on the same idea of protecting the aquifers and also managing costs. The first one is with regards to managing our capacity, containment from, our drainage issues into the aquifer and also managing the cost of our water. Do you folks work with the building departments in different towns? I know we're sharing this aquifer with Nassau County and different things happen, I can only imagine. But those kinds of conversations with our elected officials, so they know what you guys are seeing and managing the issuing of permits, both commercial and residential. That's one that I have to follow up.
Okay, sure. So I'll address that first and move on. So in terms of like land use decisions and things like that, the Water Authority is part of that process, yes, and for anywhere we serve, anywhere in our territory. Those town boards, it does come to us, an application just to make sure, we're part of the secret process. So we have to sign off that, yes, we can adequately supply water here. If we feel that we can't adequately supply water to a certain project, we will say that.
Great, thank you. And then the other question is, given the changing nature of the world right now, right? I'm wondering what the thoughts are about protecting our wells, right? And how protected are they from, sabotage?
That's a great question. So to gain access to any Water Authority well field, you would have to have a key card. And then even if you were able to key card your way through the gate to get to the pump station, you can't get into any building without the same key card swipe. And if a door opened that was not opened by an SCWA key card, an alarm would go off, the police would be there immediately. Additionally, we do require backflow devices. So somebody could never, put something, down the drain at their house to get back. It doesn't work that water will get back to anybody else. So it's a great question. And we actually do drills with Homeland Security to prevent that kind of like eco attack on our water. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Yeah.
the other thing I would add is that all of our pump stations are monitored 24/7 by our central SCADA system. So they actually say when you open the door at a pump station, like who it was that swiped the card. So it's not as though these pump stations are out there blind and we only go check on them from here to there. We're monitoring all those things.
All the time, like Brandon said, they all have those alarms built in. We should be the map before, just where your water's coming from, where our wells are in this area. The county department of health actually hates it when we do that for that reason. Like stop calling people water. We like to have it as part of WaterTalk because it's a nice educational where's our water coming from, but they actually don't like it that we do that for that reason.
This matter of policy try to protect water supply. Many places people don't have the laws. So in some places we cut down the pine trees, which actually help with water filtration, and then they put lawns and all kind of poisonous stuff. As a matter of fact, I always have difficulty finding plain fertilizer without with a gill.
Yeah, so that's an excellent point. Anything we do, like all of our water comes from the aquifer unit, right? So anything we do on the surface, including fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, has the potential to get into the ground and into the aquifer. That's a lot of the work that the lab will do to making sure we're testing for pesticides, herbicides, nitrates, fertilizers. We're constantly testing our water for all of those things, organic contaminants, inorganic contaminants. So we always know what's in the water at any given time. From a preventative measure, we showed earlier those carbon filters. So we have about 150 of those carbon filters spread out throughout the system. Those remove those types of organic contaminants as well. So we're not seeing any of that sort of stuff affecting the water. But you're right, it's not that people are going to start using less of it anytime soon. It's something we always have to be monitoring in perpetuity.
Well, maybe some education.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of what this program is all about.
Just any pesticides or herbicides.
Yeah.
I don't even water my lawn. just let it die and wait for the rain and then I oversee.
Yeah.
So over the time, by itself, the lawn built itself.
If everyone did that, we would love that. So thank you. Yeah.
2 points. This is like excellent information. I was wondering where can we find the presentation to publish? Because I feel like those statistics are very powerful.
Yep.
So where can we find that presentation?
Absolutely. So this presentation, the actual PDF version of this PowerPoint will be posted to the Water Authority's website tomorrow. And then the Zoom call end of this, which covers the whole presentation, is being recorded, and that will be up on our Water Authority YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon as well. So if someone had an obligation night that couldn't make it, they can watch this program on YouTube whenever they like and sit through the PDF presentation whenever they like. SCW.
And also regarding conservation, I was wondering if there are any grants or incentives or just talk about rainwater irrigation systems that are available to customers if they were to install their own rainwater irrigation system. Could there be incentives provided to them to conserve water as well?
I'm not familiar with the term rainwater irrigation system, but if it's
Capturing rainwater into barrels?
like a rain barrel, okay.
Yes.
Yep, so as of this time, like rain barrels aren't eligible for that $50 rebate, but that's something we're open to. That's actually something we've talked about in past summers, adding rain barrels to the WaterWise program. I don't see why not. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I agree with you. Should be in here, educating people on saving or rainwater. Should be in here. I think Suffolk should take, Suffolk watershed, since they're so powerful, take a stand on all these pollutants that are going into the ground, or the ground is still being used. With all the pesticides, there has never been a pesticide on my property in 45 years. Now, you can eat the grass. I won't allow it. There's birds, I've seen birds with cancer on their nose. And somebody's got to take a stand. This is your water. You're producing this water, and all these pesticides are going through it. I don't trust it for anything. Suffolk County has one of the largest rates of breast cancer. Largest rates. When do we get concerned? When are we going to worry? We can't do anything as an individual. You could do something
So
by
there's-
stating, by putting that, stop using these products that's going in the water.
right,
Worry
so,
about the pills in the water. Don't put any of your medication in the water. Don't flush it in the toilet.
right.
But I don't hear Suffolk County saying anything about, don't use pesticides on your water. Do not use Roundup because it causes cancer. Why don't Suffolk take that stand?
So from an education perspective, you're correct. We actually should add, using or not using pesticides, herbicides, Roundup. We should actually add that to this presentation. I agree
Because
with you.
this is costing me more money, all of us, by you adding these charcoal filters. Everything you do, but all the people are undoing it by putting this crap in the ground.
Right.
And our children and grandchildren are gonna be affected by it.
Right, so there's 2 points on that. So the first point is from an education standpoint, so telling people, the dangers of using those products to our groundwater, we can absolutely do that, and we should do a better job of that. The enforcement level from that has got to come, and the regulations on that can't come from us. We can't create laws of the water league. That's got to come from county government, state government, things of that nature. However, the Water Authority is currently in litigation with chemical companies who have been polluting our groundwater. The Water Authority has sued them for $170+ million for the cost of treatment. So those filters that have to be put in place, we're suing chemical manufacturers for the cost of putting those filters in. The problem with those lawsuits is they take years and years and years to resolve. We think we're going to be successful when we win those lawsuits. Obviously, that has an effect on our bottom line and your bottom line. But we're seeking $177 million for filtration systems from chemical companies. We are suing them.
See, that would be good to be posted here, saying that Suffolk County is taking a stand at one thing, but not talking about the legislation. I understand that. But if Suffolk County said, listen, stop the pollutants out there. We have to put more carbon filters on. We have to do this. This is causing cancer.
Yeah.
If they did this, maybe we get the legislation to move a little bit faster to stop all this nonsense. I can't believe Roundup is still on the shelf.
I always say something when I walk in the store, and it's all lined up.
Yeah, we
Roundup, really?
we
So,
we
you know,
find
we need somebody
It's all
to
money.
take-
It's
to
all
back it
money.
up.
Yep.
Stand up, you're collecting the money from all of us, you put all these filters on, you're saying why our water bills are high. Well, do something to get these people to stop it, maybe it's more aware on the bill. Do not put pollutants in your property, it goes into the water, it goes into the water. Make it aware, I get the bill, it says how much, but it
Yeah.
doesn't say anything. Different stuff.
Yeah,
Save barrels for rainwater, I mean, these are common sense things.
that could all be part of our bill. That's going forward. Right. No, I agree with you.
Just as an aside to that, I know you're doing the testing. Have you found any glyphosate in the water? I'm assuming not.
Why did I say that's a pristine
the active
question?
ingredient.
Oh, okay, Carson, thank you.
That's, my expertise is more in the inorganic
Yeah.
section. I want to say the wrong answer. That's
No,
something
I'm
that I
just
can certainly
assuming.
find out through the organic department's testing for that. And if you want, like, give me your information, I can email you where.
Yeah, we can get you the answer on that for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
A correction about breast cancer, Suffolk County does not have the highest rate, it's Nassau County.
I said one of the highest rates. I'm not sure who has the highest, but
No,
one of the
it's
highest.
Nassau County, it's above the national average. Last I looked, Suffolk County and below the national average, and a lot of it has to do with the demographics. Certain groups of people tend to have the BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene. So regardless.
But the other person I'm hearing
Jews
say
have the
that.
same blame of the Jews, as a joke. But Jews, Hungarians, Swedes, and Icelanders tend to have the highest levels.
Can I ask you, because I've only heard Suffolk is one of the highest, where did you get your information? I'd like to look it up.
I saw it when I had to take a safety course. And I looked at
I'll
it.
research.
And it has to do with radiation, safety course of radiation. And at that point, we found out part of it, we don't have radar. We don't, it's
You had a question, I didn't mean to skip it, yeah.
A few years ago, New York State did a thing on breast cancer, and they did Mount Sinai, Miller Place, Rocky Point, and this big session. Proud. And the results were, well, it could be dry cleaning, solvents that people get their clothes dry cleaned.
That we're also testing for those.
Yeah. Also, getting off the subject, I live on Helm Avenue in Miller Place. And all the way down at the end, at the left-hand side on these wells, what they do, all this ground cover, what a waste.
I'm
It's
not-
just sitting.
Are they water authority wells or you?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm not really
I
familiar
called
with
up
it
your
here.
company, because kids were biking and all kinds of stuff.
Okay, they would not be able to bike inside of a water authority well, that
No,
would be.
they break the wire, cut the wires.
We'll keep an eye on that from a security, I wasn't aware of that from a
Well,
security
no,
perspective.
but
Yeah,
why
I'm
are
not-
they there? They're being used because I find, especially during the summer, every other house has a pool.
Right,
The pressure really goes in, and they got this Christmas.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand, so.
And maybe if they opened up a little more wells, maybe that wouldn't be happening. I don't
So,
know.
yeah, so from a water authority perspective, that's an evaluation of our system that we have to, that's a calculation we have to play with all the time. So I can tell you, in the winter, 3/4 of our wells, give or take, are turned off. I mean, the most of our infrastructure from a well perspective exists to serve lawn irrigation in the summer. We turn a lot of it off in the winter, most of it off in the winter. To your point, if you notice when people are using too much water in the summer, if you're seeing a drop in pressure, that's a good point. Maybe that's an area we need to look at where, okay, let's keep this one on instead of,
Right.
shutting off. That's something,
Elm Avenue, Heavily, all that.
and Miller Place, you said?
Houses in James Street,
Okay, I'm trying to think of what, I'm not familiar with the streets enough.
it's down to 25A, or
South
Miller
25A.
Place.
Okay, that's something that we can look into after this meeting and see maybe from like a production control standpoint. We'll maybe keep something on that we previously had
And
shut off.
that's
And
what
that
wells
is-
are being used. It's
That
not
is
even
something
way out
that
there.
we'll take into account when we're planning our capital replacement, evaluating roads that may have an undersized water main, so you would feel more of that pressure differential. But that's the balance that we strike, is that having additional wells costs more money, and we have a system designed to supply our peak capacity, and 3/4 of the year, we're only using it at 25% of its capacity. So it's balancing, right? We could add 1 million more wells for the summer to make sure, everyone's pressure is like through the roof, but then that cost ultimately gets passed to our ratepayers.
Right.
So it's a fine line that we're trying to balance.
Yeah, from electric, so when wells are turned on, that's electricity costs for us. primarily. We are PSEG's #1 customer, though. Suffolk County Water Authority uses more electricity than any other entity in this county. So anytime we can avoid using those wells, we can give them a break and give the grid a break. We like to do that. Any other questions?
Excuse me,
And-
aren't we paying more money now, like $20 more onto the bill for the PSU and ADM? What is that?
Correct. So what you're referring to, that's the $20 is a water quality treatment charge. So I referenced those lawsuits earlier, that $177 million we're suing the chemical companies for. So in the meantime, while those lawsuits are getting resolved, we can't wait for that check from the lawsuits to start installing treatment systems for contamination. We have to install them right now. So we needed $177 million. Unfortunately, as a non-for-profit, if we need $177 million, it has to be raised by you, which is an unfortunate truth of it. And so that fee, that $20 per customer per billing quarter, we bill 4 months a year. Over I think the calculation was 5.5 years, because we have 5 to 6 years to raise that funding. That adds up to $177 million. Once we're successful in those lawsuits, the fee is something that we'll revisit. It might be knocked off bills entirely. We might use that money to just stabilize rates for 20 years. We don't know financially what we'll do with that lawsuit money, but it goes back to you. We're not for profit. We can't just.
So we wouldn't get it as a credit on our bill.
As a back credit, no, it would be either we're just not going to raise rates for a really long time. We're going to get rid of the $20 charge or some other measure. It wouldn't be like a back pay.
But we're paying because you don't have the money yet.
Correct.
You get the money, you got that, you get the money from us.
But it all balances out for us. So the treatment system has to be installed immediately.
But downstairs to use it, you put $20 every quarter and you're doing that for 5 years, figure it out.
Right.
That's what we're paying.
Right. Any other questions in the room before I want to give people on Zoom a chance to, yeah.
Just have the same problem with the players talking about at the Rocky Point. Every time you go take a shower or you turn on the faucet, the smell for the chlorine is just unbelievable. And pulled the water authority on it, and they said, well, probably something with that, another thing, blah, blah, blah. No way of telling me how I can solve that problem.
Right.
I don't know if you just use Greta and all that kind of stuff, because it scares me to have something that costs in the house. My biggest question is it because of the population that we're letting build in Suffolk County, that we're overtaxing the systems to a certain point where it's going to become possible to drink from water?
No, it's not. The system, like I said, we shut off most of the system in the winter. It's built for that high summer peak demand. We're not overtaxing. We have anywhere between, I don't want to mess this up. Anywhere between, 200 and 620, 60 trillion gallons in the aquifer. I mean, not that water conservation is not important, but it's not like an overdevelopment problem. We're not overtaxing the water system. No. The answer to the first part of your question about the chlorine, counterintuitively, if you're getting a heavy chlorine smell, that could mean that the chlorine is coming out of solution because there's actually not enough of it. You can actually have low chlorine, and because of that, it's not staying in solution. So it's actually effective. So I know that sounds backwards, but it could mean that we actually need to up the chlorine a little bit so it stays in solution so you don't smell it.
Nice if they get us credit for us getting a reverse osmosis system in our house. We have to do that because water is not drinkable.
Yeah.
We're paying a water bill to drink and we can't drink it. I haven't touched Suffolk water in 4 years.
Right.
Leave out of the bottle. $100 legally spring water from upstate. Perfect.
Yep.
It never has a smell to it. But I buy 10 gallons. House, but why doesn't Suffolk say get a reverse osmosis? And help us.
So people ask us, what kind of filter should I get? Should I get reverse osmosis? Our recommendation is we know what's in our water. In theory, you should be able to drink the water right from your tap with no filter. I mean, I know I do, I know my neighbors do. You're not going to get safer, healthier water from bottled water, so SCW water. That's just simply not true. And I hear you with the smell and the taste of the chlorine. I don't doubt it. But like I said, from a safety perspective, it's not. You're not getting better water from bottled, and you shouldn't need a reverse osmosis.
He can't drink it. He couldn't take a shower, so you couldn't drink it.
I don't drink it from the tap.
That's it, so if we can't drink it, it's not drinkable.
No, we know, I hear you, I
It's
hear
not
you.
noticeable, and I don't understand why you have fluorinated next to this one.
I
Well-
think it should be a credit from something.
Unless there's a problem.
Well, the chlorinating, that's a legal obligation. That is a New York state law. We have to put that in the water to make sure we're doing proper disinfection at all times.
Why is it so high in certain areas and not others?
So that depends on your or can depend, I should say, on your proximity to the pump station, your proximity to the well. Our rule of thumb is we put 1 part per million of chlorine in our water. The state law allows us to put up to a 4. We find that 4 parts per million will be excessive, so we go with 1, but yeah. All right, so Lindsay, anybody in the Zoom chat type in any questions?
Yes, we have a few questions. The first question is, the $20 per quarter clean water charge was imposed over a year ago. To many residents, that represents a 50% increase in their water bill. What is being done with the monies collected, and is there an end date? Is this in lieu of a rate increase like the delivery charges imposed by the electric utilities?
Yep, so we cover that. My bill is $82 per quarter. I just paid it, so it's a big chunk of mine too.
Yeah, is the water tested after it goes through the pipes into our homes? I'm concerned about the pathogens that come from old water pipes.
Yep, so the answer to that is absolutely. So Christine had that slide up here before with the sample station on it. When we test the sample stations, those are spread out all throughout the county. That's the water after it's gone through the distribution system. After treatment, that's the actual water that's on your homes. We're testing all of those sample stations. So yes, we know exactly what's in your water once it's gone through the whole system, correct?
With all the new rental properties being constructed around Suffolk, has Suffolk County Water Authority developed how they will meet this new demand?
Yep, so I think that's another question that we tackled earlier. We're part of the secret process. We do comment on new land use applications. And today we're not, the system's not over taxed or anything like that.
Do Superfund sites affect our water quality?
Do Superfund sites affect our workload? They can. Any Superfund site, obviously, you have a Superfund site, you've got contamination or potential contamination that can affect our water quality, yes, but that's why we're always doing our water quality monitoring at all times, so we always know what's in our water. As of this point, we don't have any Superfund sites that are affecting our water negatively enough that, yeah, I was gonna say, from a lab results perspective, right?
No, I mean, it wasn't certain.
Yeah, we wouldn't serve water over extra water quality standards. I mean,
What protections are in place against cyber attacks to control the control systems? What power backup is in place?
So we covered a lot of the, the national security type stuff with the wells. Cyber attacks is interesting. So that's another thing where I know that we drill for cyber attacks with Homeland Security, and I know we drill with the FBI for that as well. Our network for SCADA, I believe, and IT just built in, I think even more protections for that recently. I don't know if it's really possible to get into the SCADA system from a hack. That stuff is pretty well protected from a cyber security perspective. And then there's like a third part to that, I think.
Yeah.
What power backup?
Yep, so if you notice, if anyone was here during Hurricane Sandy, you notice if you lost power, one thing you do not lose is water. That's because many of our wells are on backup generators. So even when we lose power, we're able to keep the water running. We don't have a backup generator on every well, of course, but we have them spread out enough where that we can keep the water on, enough. Anyone, any hands raised in the Zoom call?
If anyone wants to raise their hand, now would be a good time.
Okay. We'll see no hands raised. We're going to wrap up in a few minutes. I'm going to give you my card because that's not normal with your water. We're going to try to get to the bottom of this. Well, you don't have to do that. We're going to comment. We're going to take it ourselves.
Today was a good day, the first good day in 4 years, and I said, "What, the day I'm coming here, it didn't smell." I poured it to a pitcher. If you take this water and you pour it into like, say a water bottle or a seltzer bottle, why does it smell even worse the next day? Is there?
Oh, for being in plastic? That I have no idea.
There's got to be some kind of chemical reaction, because I put it all in glass now.
Right.
But there's got to be I'm so in tune to this, it's like crazy, because you don't know what it's like to have sick cats. It's a nightmare. And I'm like smelling everything all the time. I wonder what no, can't drink that today. Today was not a bad day.
But we'll try to get
Still
to
went through the filter yet, but just turning on the faucet was like, I said, oh, I don't have to walk out of work today.
and then like I said, we'll come take a sample. We'll try to get to the bottom
I hope
exactly
you have
why.
a bad day.
We do too, because that's what we want to get to the bottom. Yeah, yeah, and you as well, if you like that.
Right.
Yeah.
What system can I put into the house to get rid of the truck?
So like I said, we normally don't recommend home house filters simply because from an expense standpoint, it's not worth it for water quality because SCWA water, we do stand, for the most part, stand behind the product that we serve, or water filters, even home filters should not be necessary. However, my advice, what I would do if you've got a strong chlorine taste or smell, just grab the Brita pitcher, put it through that should improve.
I have a nice big blue boy for the whole house.
I have a ranch.
Beautiful.
Well, like he's saying, he can't take a shower because it hits him, and that's the same thing everybody's telling me.
But it's more unpleasant than it should be.
The other thing is overnight in the morning, if you think about it, overnight, the water's sitting within your internal plumbing throughout the whole period, overnight period. So sometimes in the morning, it may help you, I don't know the specifics of your case, to just run the faucet for a few minutes in the morning. And that pulls in the water from the main.
That's not normal to have to do
not
that.
normal.
It isn't.
No, we hear you. Yeah.
This morning I turned it on and I go to sleep at about 9, 10 at night. I know what is being used and I turned it on. And this morning it was tolerable that I didn't smell it. I felt I wasn't in the same house.
No, we don't disagree with you that you shouldn't have to do that. We hear you.
So
Yeah.
that's osmosis because the filter isn't even helping.
All right, well, if there's no other questions in the Zoom, no hands raised, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming down, everybody. We appreciate you being here.